Thank you, Michael. Welcome back. 36 minutes past the hour. Joining us now is the president of Atlantic City Council, Marty Small. And, wow, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it. Council President, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Harry. How you doing? Good morning to your listening audience.
I am well, and good morning to you. And you know what we do around here, truth in broadcasting and all that good stuff. I'm going to ask you right up front. Did you have any idea in advance that the mayor of Atlantic City would be standing there next to the governor and the council president, and that they had struck a deal?
You mean the Senate president?
The Senate president, yeah. Thanks for that.
No, I didn't at all. And, you know, my information said that there would be a meeting at 1:30, then the 1:30 was canceled, then there was a 2:30 meeting, and then there was a press conference, which shocked me and other members of council.
What do you think was the reason that no information was given to you by Mayor Guardian, who you know I'm a friend of and I'm still a friend of, but I can't agree with what I can't agree with? I mean, unless he absolutely got told, look, you can't say anything until after, then you go home. But I just don't think that's the right way to do business. I think that, you know, I mean, at the minimum, I think the council president should be told and say, look, you know, just because of the nature of this, you know, we just can't talk about it in advance, but this is where I'm going to be. This is what's happening. Obviously, that didn't happen that way. I don't understand it because while I guess the state could take over the city of Atlantic City without anybody's, you know, agreement, why not bring as many, you know, friends to the table and say, look, instead of 15 years, we got a 5-year deal. You're not going to lose total control of city functions. You know, it'll be less, so it's not going to be a takeover. It's going to be a partnership. I mean, I would have just brought as many people on board as possible, but this went like, hey, we've got a deal. And then I think, well, I'll be honest with you, I spoke to a member of council that I knew this was happening, and they had no idea that it was happening. And now I've spoken to you for the first time. We missed each other last night, so we're speaking for the very first time on air. And that's why I asked the question, because I didn't know if you knew and you didn't know. What do you think? Is that – I'm not trying to pick a fight here because, you know, we're all friends, but was that – did you consider that to be disrespectful?
No, and I did, and you can ask the mayor himself. I did call and give my displeasure at the events that were taking place on TV as we all watched at 2:30, the press conference. And the first thing I thought is, like, how can you stand there, you know, when they're talking about this takeover? So then later on, you know, we got information. We had Senate President Steve Sweeney come down, and he met with us in executive session for an hour and a half. And you got to understand the dynamics. The takeover bill, Guardian and I were supposed to go testify on Thursday, 1 o'clock in front of the Senate Budget Appropriations Committee, and that got pulled. Also, the bill got pulled. And at the same time, discussions had talked about bringing back the pilot in some form and one global bill. So my thing was, I mean, and I'm sure you will feel the same way. You have a 1:30 meeting that was rescheduled for 2:30, and then at 2:30 it was a press conference on a deal. No meeting anywhere should take 1 minute to make a deal, especially of a magnitude like this. So we felt, members of council, and I expressed that you know, the fix was in, that there wasn't no meeting, that they went up there, the deal was agreed to, and, you know, there came the press conference, which was an extreme disappointment. As you said, no one has any time for fights. You know, we all need to be united right now, but at the same time, there needs to be better communication. And as you said, just like if the governor or someone says, okay, well, you know, we're not going to put anything out, believe me, staffers know what's going on. You know, the communication directors know what's going on. And I should have at least, if that was the case, knew what was going on. And that when council members came to me like they did, asking me what's going on, I could have said, in your words, hey, you know, keep your powder dry. You know, let's think this through. But we went ahead with the meeting. We spoke to the Senate president, and previously I met with the Senate President on January 16th for 2 hours. And that was to discuss the Takeover bill. And he said, you could never, ever, ever be for this. I get it. I was once in your shoes. I know what it's like to, hold, elective office. I'm in elective office now. Basically, the state will come in and provide cover to do things that you can't. And, of course, disagree with him. And we told him straight up that this isn't about getting reelected. This isn't about nobody coming in and putting for cover. This is for us, for our residents won't be disenfranchised. And that's what would have taken place. And I said at the NAACP breakfast, I said, how ironic is the same state government that came after me twice for voter fraud and disenfranchising voters on cases that were dead before they started, and the same head of this government is basically saying that, Atlantic City voters, the voters that came out in November, who overwhelmingly elected the candidates from all 6 wards, whether you or not, this is who the voters chose. And I said, now y'all going to disenfranchise 40,000 votes, which is a whole city. Not 40,000 people voted, but we represent the whole city, whether you vote or not.
Council President, what I'm thinking is this is probably, now I don't know all the details because all the details aren't available yet, and probably some things will change. And the mayor did leave open that, hey, this could actually blow up. I mean, if things, start coming about that can't be agreed to, then this, and who knows, the speaker wasn't there, and he put out a comment that said if the assembly's not involved, there is no deal. That's a fair comment. Respectfully, I don't know that Atlantic City Council has to be involved because I think they can do this. The state can do this. You could litigate it and have a chance to win, if a judge would say that the state can't take over the city of Atlantic City the way they did it. But I think they would be able to do it just like they did it to Camden. What I'm thinking is this probably is the best deal that you could get, is why the mayor was standing there, honestly, looking a little bit like a hostage. I'm just being honest, because I watched his jaw pulsate a little bit, and a couple times when certain things were said, I could tell he didn't like it. And his eyes, I know him and you know him, his eyes had to look like, I almost can't believe I'm here, but I am here because I have to be here. It's the best deal that we can get. And I'm sure he's not. And by the way, he will speak for himself coming up in 20 minutes at 8:05. Mayor Don Guardian is confirmed. So I'm thinking that this is probably the best deal that you could get. 5 years in nature, not 15. Softer verbiage that it's not a takeover. Help in the area structurally, financially, where Atlantic City is insolvent right now. Help with settling the massive Borgata debt and some of the other tax issues that are happening. But along with that, though, the state will come in and have control of your property. And I guess if they want to sell the water company, they're going to do it. If they want to change the police department to a county department and disband it, if they want to do a whole lot of different things, I would imagine they will have the authority, Council President, to do all that.
Well, Harry, you're right. And under the circumstances, this is the best deal. Let me take you back to January 16th when we met with the Senate President, myself and Councilman Shabazz. We met with the Senate President, and he proposed that 5-year versus 15, I guess to think that, we would jump up and down and do backflips. But, we didn't want anything. We wanted a partnership because, like I told the members in the audience last night, let's not be naive about this. We need the money. There's no question about it. Our taxpayers were burdened before last year, were burdened with a 53% tax increase over a 2-year period. And that was devastating to the tax base. So even the state recognized that. They filled our budget shortfall last year, and we thank them for that. But at the same time, let's not act like the state of New Jersey has been a model for thorough and efficient government. It ranks in the bottom 40 of every major category. I know people want to talk about Camden and Newark schools as far as their record of a state takeover, but look no further than our own illustrious tourism district. It's in 2010, and I know it's a friend of yours, but the governor came here and overpromised and underdelivered. And under their watch in the tourism district, 4 casinos closed, which contributed to our downfall. Like I said last night, we do have a high budget, but you can't compare Atlantic City to New Brunswick and say, well, it's 60,000 people there. You got 35,000 college students. At any night, we can have upwards of 200,000 people in this town.
Right, and we have millions of visitors every year, so I agree with you completely. It is much different than the full-time population of a destination resort Atlantic City. It's all the other factors that you're starting to mention. Marty, let's get our final break in. Just going to step aside for a couple of minutes. When we come back, we'll close out the hour with Atlantic City's Council President Marty Small. This is not only appreciated, County City Council President. It is fascinating to hear, and I have to say, I really like Steve Sweeney. I think he's a great guy. I think he really has an excellent chance to be the next governor, and that was so smart that he came to Atlantic City Council last night. And I wasn't there, obviously, and a lot of it we can't talk about because it's closed session. So that's not something that the council president could talk about. But he could generally say that he was here, and that was, I think, very instructive to really, I think. And you can comment on this if you care to when we come back, Council President Small, that did show respect to the legislative branch. I think it was really smart. Had that all just went down and then nobody, showed City Council any love at all, hey, listen, we're all just human. And it's like, hey, I have a role in this. What's going on here? I got to hear about it watching YouTube, or what's going on around here. Brief time out. Don't go away. It is Hurley in the Morning, the most relevant two-way talk radio broadcast in New Jersey history. Earning it 1 hour at a time right here on WPG Talk Radio 1450, South Jersey's talk station. Don't go away.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Hey, thank you, Sean. 50 minutes past the hour, so we have 10 minutes and a lot still to cover with Atlantic City Council President Marty Small, the morning after, if you will, in case you either slept through it or haven't heard, which would sound astounding to me to believe. But the governor, the Senate president, the mayor of Atlantic City all stood together yesterday and announced the framework of a deal that would involve significant state involvement. Everybody stopped short of using the word takeover, but it was interesting that everybody in the media wrote headlines. It was kind of funny. I read a couple articles that said state taking over Atlantic City, and then the writer's first words were "Don't call it a takeover," which I thought was from the school of "I'm psychotic and so am I." Let me just do it. Council President, is this a state takeover? Yes or no?
No. As of this conversation, no.
Okay.
I would say, like they say in the sports world, we've reached an agreement in principle, terms to be worked out.
Good. Hey, listen, I think this is very healthy. I didn't know what you were going to say. I didn't know how council was processing, how this all went down and not knowing. And, just human nature is that if you tell me the news, I can handle the news. You leave me out on purpose and you piss me off. So I didn't know how people were going to take this. But I have to give you a lot of credit. You guys are taking it very mature. I think everybody does understand it's it's tough medicine, but it's the best deal that Atlantic City is going to get. But I am hoping, and I don't speak for you. You will do that very well for yourself. But I'm on board. I'm a team player because I love Atlantic City. I want my children and my grandchildren, Council President, to be able to live here and not have to move 1,000, 15,000 miles away from me. So I'm on board. If this is the best deal we could get, it's the best deal we could get. But I'm not selling out on North Jersey casinos. We all better be still in the fight of our life to stop that because it's Katie barred the door. If 2 massive casinos open up in North Jersey, nobody's selling out there, are they, Council President?
No, I mean, like I tell people, I'm Atlantic City born, I'm Atlantic City bred, and when I die, I'm going to be Atlantic City dead. We on City Council, we love the residents. We were elected by the residents to serve them and to make decisions for them. And that was the tone. We, through this process, have united Atlantic City like never before. And it was almost by accident. So Sweeney and Christie and with the talk of the state takeover has brought people together for a common cause, because, like I said, this is not about Democrat, Republican, Tea Party. It's not a black or white issue, not a male-female issue. It's not a social-economic issue. This is 100% Atlantic City issue, and the residents stand behind us. Now, understand, there was a lot of emotion because the way that we interpreted what happened yesterday. But, you know, I got to give my council colleagues credit. You know, I was very, very, very emotional and, you know, was prepared to say some things. And, you know, we all got in the room and, you know, cooler heads sort of, cooler heads prevailed. And the similar thing took place with the residents. We had a lot of passion in that room last night, Harry, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
You know, this is a civil rights issue as well, people's right, you know, as Councilman Kurt said, you know, our God-given right to, you know, to self-governance. And, you know, once we started outlining everything, that's why we had the professional come. None of us on city council are professionals when it comes to bankruptcy. So we brought a professional in to explain what was going on. Before I left the break, I talked about the casinos closing in the tourism district, which contributed to our problem. Also, our rateable base in 2010 was $20.5 billion. And that's the property values for those of you who may not know what ratables are. We are projected this year to go down to $6.6 billion. No government in America is dealing with the issues that we're dealing with. And what I do find disingenuous, that mayors from other parts of the county, you know, the county exec, and everyone wants to talk about what's going on in Atlantic City and the problems. We're hurting right now, but it's like everyone is kicking us while we're down. All of a sudden, you know, Atlantic City's bad. We're contributing to the rise in taxes in the surrounding municipalities. But guess what? When we were handing out $75,000 and $85,000 dealer jobs, were they complaining? When our industry was $5.2 billion in 2006, were they complaining? No. So if we had this relationship, just like we said with the state, we want it to be a partnership. You deal with someone through the good and the bad. Harry, you're a married man. If your wife ticks you off once you get off the air and says something to you, are you leaving? You want to be mad, but are you leaving?
35 years, I ain't left yet. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not going anywhere, but it's
No.
a partnership. And people need to understand that. Another thing that I challenged state officials on, and I said it at the January 16th meeting, and I kind of chimed in yesterday a little bit. They said that the state is going to come in and take over the finances. I said, well, guess what? Since 2010, the state has had control of finances.
Which is what I've been saying.
We've had a state monitor since 2010, and we have a great relationship with ASS Deli and the folks from DCA. We don't agree on everything. You're not supposed to agree on everything.
Well, exactly.
Then they said, well, this allow us to come to the table and, you know, negotiate negotiate down your debt, deal with your creditors in a position that you can't. Well, first of all, under the law, city council, that's not city council's role. Negotiations with contracts and everything, that comes to the administration. Only thing we do is say yes or no. Now, I came back to them on that point as well. I said, well, that's what we're doing now. Your $2.6 million man was supposed to do all of this. And I'm talking about the emergency managers.
Wow.
Don't be hypocritical.
That's a number. I knew it was millions. I never heard it put so in detail. Councilman, you're going to get the final comment. We have 2 minutes left, but I got to ask you this, because 13 hours ago, and you know Twitter because you're on Twitter, you only get 40 characters. I know they're going to expand it or whatever, but you get 40 characters for now. And so it's tricky what you can say. So I wrote 13 hours ago, breaking, Atlantic City Council approves, at Governor Christie, at New Jersey Senate President, and at Don Guardian, plan for AC. Only holdout at this time is at Vincent Prieto. Now, I know he was holding out. Even before his statement, I put he was holding out because he wasn't there. And then he came out about 30 minutes after my tweet, and he said, hey, if the Assembly isn't on board, there is no deal. So is it accurate to say, because I'm still not sure, I think I know I heard everything you said, Is council on board with the deal that's been struck, the broad deal in principle, as you called it, that's been struck by the governor, the Senate president, and the mayor? Is council on board?
Well, Harry, at this time, we don't have anything to agree with. What we did last night, and we passed a resolution for the record that is authorizing us to go to the table, which we weren't at the table under the last bill. So we're going to go to the table. We're going to say some things that we want. Of course, in any negotiation, I'm sure you know, you're not going to get 100% of what you want. You're lucky to get 50. But at the end of the day, if it's a right decision for the greater good of Atlantic City, for the masses, I think it's in our responsibility to agree to that deal. But as we speak, there hasn't even been a pen to the piece of paper to even start the bill, which we're in the infancy stages, which is very important because at the end of the day, we can always say, well, we had a seat at the table and this will happen. And like I said, I told them, I said, bankruptcy is not off the table. I mean, this thing can get real bad. It can blow up. And, you know, we might find ourselves back to where we was 2 weeks ago. But it's important that we go into this with optimism and not, you know, sway one way or the other. But it's important that we go into this as a collective unit. And when we agree, it's going to be to the betterment of the residents of the city of Atlantic City, because it's clear that we need the money and there's no time to play around. Everybody know about that April 1st deadline.
Exactly. Council President, literally the top of the hour. You know you're a player. You know at the top of the hour the horn sounds. To be continued, Council President. Thank you.
No problem.